Hi there everyone, my name's Wayne, I'm the Armchair Red and welcome to my channel. Today we have the next exciting installment of the Armchair Challenge. A challenge where I get to take on one of the members of the Armchair community to predict scores and results for Game Week 26 of the English Premier League. Game Week 26 won't be featuring Chelsea. They will be taking on Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. So their game against Spurs has been postponed this weekend. And Liverpool played their Game 26 fixture this last Wednesday, a game against Luton that they ended up winning 4-1. So before I jump into Game Week 26, looking back at Game Week 25's results, for those of you that remember, I had the opportunity to take on the first ever subscriber to my channel, a gentleman by the name of Clyde Abrahams. And coming into the challenge, I thought the Armchair Challenge was going to be pretty easy because I had a feeling I knew my football pretty well. But looking at Game Week 25, Clyde knew his stuff. Let me put it that way. So the end results, I have it written down here, ended 6 points apiece. Clyde scored 6 points, I scored 6 points, 5 correct results, and we each had 1 correct scoreline. So a good start, I think. At least I can say I'm still unbeaten. But Clyde, that was an incredible effort. Very well done. I look forward to getting some predictions from you again in the future. But as it stands at the moment, Armchair Community 6, Armchair Red 6, and we move into Game Week 26. So who am I taking on this week? I received my predictions, and it is a thesis of predictions that were sent through to me by a gentleman by the name of Lucian Williams. Lucian, thank you for your predictions for this week. I look forward to running through them, and yeah, looking at this, it's going to be fun. So let's jump into it. Lucian, by the way, is from Cape Town, South Africa. Another Armchair community member from Cape Town. Guys, again, thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. And let's jump into the fixtures. So first fixture of the weekend, we have Aston Villa against Nottingham Forest. So you must excuse me, I've got to run through Lucian's thesis as we predict the results over here. So Lucian's predicted a 2-1 scoreline to Aston Villa over Nottingham Forest. And he says here that this is a rather tough prediction. Nottingham Forest is in a relegation battle with Luton and Everton. The win against West Ham should give them some belief, and they have caused some upsets this season. They also won against Villa in the reverse fixture earlier this year. Villa, however, is playing for Champions League position, and another slip-up would allow Spurs and United to move within reach. It's going to be tight, but he has Villa for the win. Lucian, I cannot disagree with the points you've made there. The only difference I'm going to say here is I agree with you 100%. Neither team can afford to lose this game, and for different reasons. Obviously, Aston Villa chasing Premier League, Champions League, like you mentioned. They need to be very careful because they're potentially getting closer to the chasing pack rather than keeping up with the likes of Arsenal and Man City just above them. And then you have Nottingham Forest that I don't think have had a bad season, but the fact is they're still battling relegation. So neither team can afford to lose this game, but the reality is both teams can't get 3 points. So I'm also going to go with an Aston Villa win, but I'm going to say Aston Villa 2, Nottingham Forest 0. The next game of the weekend, we have Brighton against Everton. Lucian says Everton's last league win was against Burnley in December 2023. No doubt the whole situation regarding the Premier League sustainability allegations affects the moods in the Toffees locker room. Brighton won 5-0 last week away against the 10-man Sheffield United team. Playing at home, Brighton should have more than enough firepower to pile the misery even more on a depleted Everton. Again, Lucian, 100% agree. You pretty much took the words out of my mouth. The difficulty for Everton is I just don't know where the goals are going to come from. I think they have a steady enough back line. But you look through that Everton team and you ask yourself, literally, where is a goal going to come from? So I have gone with a Brighton 2, Everton 0 scoreline. So a slightly different scoreline over there. I think Brighton were flattered a bit last week with their 5-0 against Sheffield. Sheffield did go down to 10 men, but I thought pretty much after Holgate was sent off, ironically an ex-Everton or Everton loan player, once he was sent off, I just think the team gave up. I don't think that's going to happen against Everton. They're playing for a lot at the moment. They are just above the relegation zone. Oh, actually, they've slipped into the relegation zone now in goal difference, and they really cannot afford to go down. So they need to get something out of this game, whether it be a point or whether it be 3 points. But the reality is, I think Brighton is just going to be too good for them. So Brighton 2, Everton 0. Third game of the weekend, we have Crystal Palace against Burnley. Lucian has gone with a 4-2 scoreline to Crystal Palace over Burnley. High scoring game, Lucian. He says here, a struggling Crystal Palace would want to give their new manager a winning start to his first game in charge. Playing at home should be more than enough motivation to beat Burnley, who's also struggling in the relegation zone. However, Burnley wants to survive the season and stay in the top flight. The game should be open. There will definitely be goals in this game. So Lucian's gone with a 4-2 scoreline. I also agree, Lucian, that I think this is a Crystal Palace win. I don't think there's going to be as many goals in the game as you might think. Well, that's my opinion anyway. I do believe that the new manager bounce back effect will raise its head in this game. It seems to happen with most teams that get a new manager on board. And I think that new manager bounce back ability is worth at least a goal to Crystal Palace, definitely. And the problem with Burnley is they just can't seem to defend. We saw against Arsenal when they were thumped 5-0. There just seems to be no cohesion in the back line, and the problem going forward is there's no goals either. So you're looking at a game where you're playing an opposition that can't score and can't defend. I just think that Palace aren't in the greatest form at the moment, but I definitely think they'll get a goal in the game. So I've gone 1-0 Crystal Palace. So game number 4 of the weekend. So what I failed to allude to at the start of the episode was that Lucian is a massive Man United supporter. Man United to the bone. And he comes from a family that, from what I believe, from what he tells me, is split between Man United and Liverpool supporters. So it must be an interesting household and a game day between Liverpool and Man United. But let's jump into the results here. So jumping into the Man United game, they're playing Fulham at home this weekend. Lucian's gone for a 3-1 scoreline to Man United over Fulham. He says, yeah, United has been scrappy the whole season, while Luke Shaw is out for another few weeks, and United is conceding a goal almost every game. So Fulham should have scored at least one goal. But with the young Devils stepping up lately, United should win against Fulham at Old Trafford. And he says, yeah, and the Reds go marching on. Touche, Lucian, touche. So this, I think, as confident as you are, Lucian, I think this is potentially a banana skin for Man United. Fulham on their day are a pretty decent team. Liverpool saw that when we played them in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. And what we also need to remember is, you might not have known this when you sent your predictions through, but Rasmus Højlund is now out injured for a few weeks. And if you take Rasmus Højlund out of that attacking lineup for Man United, you start asking yourself, where do the goals come from? So I've gone for a draw here. I think we're going to have a 1-1 draw in this fixture. I think United are going to grab their goal, and I think Fulham are going to sneak a goal. Willian's been in good form with them out on the right, and we know Man United's backline has been a bit iffy with crosses into the box of late. And I think players like Willian are just going to pepper that penalty area. And sooner or later, someone's got to get on the end of one. So I'm thinking 1-1. Man United 1, Fulham 1. The next game of the weekend, we have Bournemouth up against Man City. So Man City are chasing Liverpool at the top. And they're running in, after the Bournemouth game, they're running into a game of 5 fixtures where they play all of the top 6 teams in the league. So this is the start of a potentially tricky run for Manchester City, and they're playing Bournemouth away. So Lucian's gone with a 4-0 to Man City scoreline. So that's being very boisterous. And he says here, an unexpected draw against Chelsea, a 1-0 win against a struggling Brentford in midweek. City would want to get their act together sooner rather than later to prevent slipping up even more in the title race. City should come out with all guns blazing to keep the pressure on Liverpool. So he's gone with a 4-0 scoreline. Like I said, just speaking about this fixture, Bournemouth at home is not an easy task. They went on that great run a few weeks ago where they put a string of quite a few big wins together. They were challenging the top 6 at one stage, and I just think, you've got Dom Solanke in the front line. You've got a pretty experienced back line. Man City are going to want to go out all guns blazing, but my honest opinion was I thought Man City were a bit lucky midweek against Brentford. Sorry, that just slipped my mind over there. Ultimately that goal that Haaland scored came from an error at the back. And I mean, if Brentford could stop making errors at the back, I think they stand a better chance this season. A little bit off topic, but getting back to the Bournemouth game, last week when I looked at the Man City Chelsea game, I had this whole head versus heart scenario. My heart was telling me it was going to be a draw. My head was telling me Man City should win. And I thought to myself this week, I'm going to go with my heart on this one. My head tells me that Man City should probably win this game. My heart tells me this is not going to be very easy. And I'm thinking there's potentially a slip up on the cards for City here. And my view is we're looking at a 1-1 scoreline. I hope I'm proven right. Next game of the weekend, another massive game. Another team chasing the top of the table, right on the heels of Liverpool. Arsenal versus Newcastle. This is a massive game. This is a massive game. Newcastle have fallen off a bit in the last few weeks, but they're still a good team. Lucian has gone with a 2-1 scoreline to Arsenal. He says here, in this game, is this the game where Arsenal slips up? Maybe last season I would have given Newcastle the benefit of the doubt. But with an injury-riddled season and with Arsenal playing some exceptional football, Arsenal should have the edge with this one. Newcastle won't be easy though. So, spot on there, Lucian. It's going to be a really difficult game, and this is probably Arsenal's toughest game since their fixture against Liverpool. And as we know, unfortunately, they beat Liverpool in that game. But this is probably their next biggest test, and. They beat Burnley 5-0, and I think the scoreline flattered Arsenal because Burnley just didn't pitch up. I don't think you can even really look at that scoreline with any sort of credibility in terms of how good Arsenal is. I think it's more about how bad Burnley are. The key man in this game, in my view, is Anthony Gordon for Newcastle. Arsenal doesn't like facing players like Anthony Gordon, that are direct, that run at the back line, that whip crosses in the box, and can be on the end of something to score a goal. I just think that Anthony Gordon might be the kryptonite to Arsenal in this fixture this weekend. So I have actually gone with a 1-1 scoreline in this one as well. I'm predicting both of the chasing teams that are chasing Liverpool down at the top to drop points this weekend. And Arsenal, I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw against Newcastle. I don't think this is a guaranteed 3 points. I think Newcastle are under pressure to prove themselves a bit more this season. And if they start stringing a few wins together, they still want to play in Europe next season. I think Champions League might be a bit out of reach for them. But, getting into Europa League, for example, you need to be in Europe from a sustainability and financial point of view to make some money. So Newcastle are going to be on it. I think Gordon's going to be the star man, and I think it's going to end 1-1. The next game of the weekend is Wolves versus Sheffield United. So Lucian has gone with a 3-0 scoreline to Sheffield United here. So he says Wolves won against an informed Spurs last time out. I honestly can't see how Sheffield United could cause an upset in this one. I think they've had the worst defence in the league this season. So he's gone 3-0 to Wolves. I can't agree with you. I can't agree with you more there, Lucian. I think Sheffield United have been atrocious this season. And if you look at that, challenge that Mason Holgate put in last week, he's not going to be playing this week. So he's been suspended for he's serving a 3-game suspension. I can't see, just like you, I can't see anything other than a Wolves win over here. But I need to be a bit different to your predictions. So I don't quite think Wolves are going to put 3 past them, but I think we have a 2-0 scoreline incoming here for Wolves. So I think that fixture is probably one of the most formalities of the week, and it's just a matter in terms of what the scoreline is going to be. And then the last game of the weekend, we have West Ham up against Brentford. So Lucian's gone with a 2-2 scoreline here. I see it's the only draw he's gone with this weekend. And he says here that this is one hell of a fixture to predict. West Ham conceded 14 goals in their last 5 games. David Moyes would want to win to qualify for Europe eventually. However, an unpredictable Brentford are more than capable of causing an upset. There will be goals scored and there will be goals conceded. I have to go with a draw on this one. Spot on, Lucian. I'm thinking, if I look at this game, my view is that Brentford have a better defence than West Ham. I know they made individual errors in the last 2 games, cost them goals, against Liverpool and against Man City. If they can clean up those individual goals, I think they are more likely to come out on top in this game. I don't think this is going to be a draw. The other thing we need to remember is Calvin Phillips won't be available for West Ham this week after his red card last week. I think he's been integral for them in midfield so far this season. So key man out, not a great defence. West Ham don't exactly have a lot of confidence at the moment. I mean, they went down to Nottingham Forest last week. I know they're playing away, but still, I just don't think they're in a good vein of form. I know David Moyes has been offered a new contract at West Ham. I believe he hasn't signed it yet. I don't really know what that says about the whole mindset of the manager and the team at the moment. But I just don't think everything's gelling for West Ham. So I'm going with the Brentford win here, 2-1. So guys, that's game week 26. Lucian, again, thank you very much for your predictions. And thank you for the thought that you've put into your predictions. I really do appreciate it. Remember, guys, if you want to take part in the Armchair Challenge, please submit your predictions. The email address will be in the description of the video. armchairredtv@gmail.com for those of you that don't want to read the description. But there we go. Drop your predictions through. I'm really looking forward to another new subscriber next week for the challenge. But I think this week's going to be really interesting. Some tricky games. I can see that Lucian's put some proper research into this. So I think it's going to be really tight, as it was against Clyde last week. So guys, I look forward to this weekend. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for watching the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you're watching for the first time, I would really appreciate you hitting the subscribe button. We're going on a journey with this channel, and I'd like to take all of you along with me. Guys, look after yourself. Armchair Red, out.